Baryonyx is the most complete meat eater ever found in the UK and died with fish in its gullet. We'll talk about that and more fun baryonyx facts while I sketch this little dino birdie. So let's just turn the page and get started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on a Friday morning, and I am as shocked as everybody to see that Ivy is awake. Good morning, Ivy. Rick, Mom, and Dad, good morning. It is 5:30 in the morning on Friday morning. 5:30 in the morning on Friday mornings, that is when I like to do a little thing where I pull a toy from the toy box, a random object from the Random Object Randomogrifier, if you will, and I draw it and talk about it. We actually do this every day at 5:30 a.m. Texas time, so you may want to click that notification bell so you don't miss any of them. But today's random object is a Baryonyx Dinosaur. Now, I'm not going to beat around the bush on this one. I've never heard of a Baryonyx. I've studied dinosaurs most of my life. I have read about dinosaurs. I have watched movies about dinosaurs. I have given classes about dinosaurs. And Baryonyx is not one of the ones that ever came up. So I was surprised. When I pulled this out of the box, I thought it was a velociraptor. And it has very similar features to velociraptor in this model. I don't know about real life, but in this model, it has very similar features to velociraptor. And like I said, I've never heard of it before, so I don't know how accurate any of it is. If you've heard of a Baryonyx before, leave me a comment. Let me know how long ago you found out about Baryonyx, because I was yesterday years old when I found out about Baryonyx. It is a meat eater, and when it died, we know that it had fish in its belly and that it had iguanodon juveniles in its belly, because the remains were still there and managed to fossilize. It's in the Spinosauridae family, or it has been classified into the Spinosauridae family, which means it is closely related to the Spinosaurus. And Spinosaurus was that huge semi-aquatic dinosaur from Africa that they've only found one or two specimens of. And similarly, they've only found the one almost complete specimen of this. And it always amuses me that they have created an entire life cycle, discussion and plan and story and textbooks about this dinosaur, with only ever having found one specimen. Table pounding. There's table pounding amongst the paleontologists as they argue about where it lived and how it lived, and its mating rituals and coloration and all kinds of other interesting things about it. But there's only only one specimen. Everything else is a tooth they found somewhere. That they attributed to being the same dinosaur. This thing had 92 teeth, which is more teeth than even T-Rex. No other contemporary carnivore even comes close to the number of teeth this thing had, which is why his mouth being open like that was such a big deal in the model. Because it's one. He looks like a velociraptor. Exactly.
One is the loneliest number. He got your cat.
Oh, thanks for that. Thanks for that, Pamela. Hi, Tiger Cat. Thanks for that, Pamela. I really appreciate that. Two can be as sad as one. It's the loneliest number since the number one.
Pamela said they're get out and just jump fighting with fire. Hot spots it when they're backed up.
Are the people and the animals safe? We don't care if the countryside's on fire as long as the people and the animals are safe. Tiger Cat, good morning. She's singing "You Are Welcome."
Oh, thank you guys so much.
Two can be as sad as one. It's the loneliest number since the number one. One is the loneliest number. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that, Pamela. That girl knows how to push my buttons. Rick. I understand why you're like you are. Oh my goodness. Pamela's a dear friend. We've known each other a long time. She's a dear friend. I don't think Pamela intended to get that song stuck in my head. But if she did intend to get that song stuck in my head, it was cruel.
Rick is not happy with her.
I bet he's singing it too. He's got the same affliction. He works a soundstage at the church, so I know he has the same affliction with music. She may not have even been trying to get me. She may have just been trying to get him.
If your cat's also on vertical, she wants to know what time you always said.
Tiger Cat, it's a Baryonyx. It looks like a velociraptor, and it has a large hook on its thumb, kind of like an iguanodon. And they think that large hook was for fishing, to scoop fish up out of the water like a bear would. But again, they've made this whole life story about this thing with only one specimen ever found. Everything else is just a tooth they found here, or a piece of vertebrae they found there, and they've attributed those pieces to this animal, to another specimen of this animal. But I'm not sure how popular Spinosauridae were. Because Spinosauridae, it's really the nature of the beast. They're semi-aquatic. This guy had dense bones, which would have allowed him to submerge. Most dinosaurs did not have the dense bones that would allow submersion. Most dinosaurs had the feather-light bones like birds that were hollow and would not have allowed them to submerge underwater. They would have floated underwater. But this guy had the bone structure that would have allowed him to submerge. That is one thing they do know. It had dense bones. Not like super dense bones. I mean, it's not like, it's just that his bones were dense enough to allow submersion. We have dense bones that allow for submersion. Birds have to fight to go underwater because their bones are hollow. And so other dinosaurs, like Velociraptor, would have had a hard time going underwater. They could have dove underwater, but they wouldn't have been able to sustain underwater because they would have been fighting the whole time. They would have been fighting the buoyancy of their lightweight system. They don't displace enough water to stay under. What's that?
On the horizontal, we're having a battle of the songs. Now Rick says, Grandma said that's what she gets up for, and then Rick says, at least she didn't do Baby Shark.
I am lucky in that I'm not afflicted by the Baby Shark problem. There are songs that get me, but Baby Shark is not one of them. Though I have been known to throw that out there and cause problems for other people.
Or the song that never ends, it just goes on and on, my friend.
Oh, stop it. That's not even right. That's not even, that's a low blow right there. I'm telling you right now. These things had twice the teeth as a T-Rex. The 92 to 96 teeth is twice as many teeth as the T-Rex had. Which would you be more afraid of? T-Rex is bigger and bulkier. These things might have been a little longer and more teeth and probably more snappy. Which one, if you were coming up against one in a dark alley alongside the stream bed in the swamplands, which one do you think would send you over the edge with terror? T-Rex or Baryonyx? Baryonyx, the name actually means big hook, big thumb, big. It refers to that big hook that's on their hand, which is not on this model. I would like to point out that big hook, that big claw is not on this model. They managed to call this model Baryonyx. They gave it the general spinosaurid raptor shape, but they didn't put the hook that's supposed to be its namesake on the model, on the toy. And that's shocking because this is a safari toy, and safari is usually very good about their anatomical correctness when it comes to stuff like this. And so it is just a little shocking that they didn't put the hook on the model. this is my favorite part of the process. I probably never told you guys how much I love this part of the process. I've probably never mentioned it, but if I haven't ever mentioned it before, I'm sorry. I should tell you guys stuff like this more often. But this is my favorite part. This is the part that brings the whole thing to life for me. The thing lived about 130 million years ago. 125 to 130 million years ago. That means it died out before the Cretaceous, before the asteroid event at the end of the Cretaceous. And it lived, yeah.
She carved a cross section of the bird book once and made it into a necklace and was proud when her son guessed correctly what it was.
What kind of bird it was? Her son guessed correctly what kind of bird it was?
Yes, it just is what it was.
Okay.
Also says the hook is on the back leg, which makes her think it's a precursor to the evil rooster.
Well, the back leg is the velociraptor puts the hook on the back leg. These guys are supposed to have that hook on their thumb for fishing. That's the idea, is that it's a fishing thumb. And again, they have one specimen. Just the one. 130 million years ago, England, the area of England that this was found in, would have been a floodplain. And so it would have been a marshy area. So swimming along and eating fish was not out of its purview, and it also had juvenile iguana in it preserved in its gullet. Let me dry this real quick. It was discovered by a guy named William Walker, who was not a paleontologist. William Walker was a plumber who just happened to be walking along a quarry. He was a hobbyist, a paleontologist hobbyist, and apparently there's lots of those around the quarries. But he happened to see the hook. The thumb hook is what got his attention. So again, the fact that the hook is not on this model is shocking.
Emma says, what did British Isle break away from?
Did the British Isle break away from something, or was the British Isle made up of the coral deposits of millions of years of coral cycle? There was Gondwanaland and Pangaea when everything was together, and that's back. This thing existed back when everything was still connected, because they find samples of it in Argentina, in Spain, in Finland. They find samples of it in all of the existing continents except for, as far as I can tell, I don't know that they found anything in Antarctica, nor did they find anything in Australia. But I'm not sure about that. They're not finding anything in Antarctica because nobody's digging in Antarctica. But people are absolutely digging in Australia. Who knows what's under Antarctica? The shadow knows. Sorry. There's only like 2 of us old enough to know who that is. Aside from my mom. My dad. What evil lurks inside the minds of men? The shadow knows. Alright, that's enough radio nostalgia. But this is the most complete carnivore ever found in the UK. And I wonder why that is. Is it because there were a shortage of carnivores in the UK?
Rick says, and it goes on and on like random.
Well, at least it doesn't get you like one of those 70s songs, you know. It doesn't just sit with you like a rhinestone cowboy or anything. So they think it was global because they think that it existed before Pangea split apart. But again, one specimen, one complete, almost complete, not even a complete specimen, an almost complete specimen. But things don't fossilize well in marshy environments. You've got to have layers that dry to bake it in place. You've got to have pressure, and with the constant movement of water and all of the organisms that live in the water, it's hard to have that. That's why there's very few fossils of frogs. That's why there's very few fossils of fish in common lake beds. But you know, you go to Wyoming where the lake bed dried overnight, geologically speaking, and there's fish everywhere, fossilized fish everywhere. But that's not a global event, that's a local event. Let me dry this real quick and we can ink it. Now you start throwing Steppenwolf out there, Rick, and we're going to have karaoke night.
Yesterday afternoon, boy something that made me think of a song, so I just said the lyrics. And he was just getting after to get his name. And he said, thank you for that.
Right.
And then he stopped and he come back and he opened the car door and he said, that song they always throw at me and get in my head. And I said, oh, that was me.
What song was it?
Color.
What was it?
Red, yellow, blue.
Red, yellow, blue, red, green, 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 red, purple, red, yellow, orange, red, red. That's funny.
And it's here, Rick. I had a tear in my beer.
Yeah, no, that one doesn't get me.
Hey, so it's funny. Get to sleep and then wake up just long enough to type something else and go back to sleep.
That's what my dad's doing. Guarantee it's what my dad's doing. Do. It is Friday. My wife and daughter are going camping, and it's just going to be me and the boy for a couple of days. We'll probably have fish sticks and macaroni and cheese for dinner, because that's a manly meal. What is today? Today's the 15th. Oh crap! I've got to get my property taxes settled today. My last day to contest them. Alrighty. So there is my Baryonyx compared to the photograph. Let's see what it looks like from my perspective. If I can get the camera to quit moving around. There it is from my perspective. So that's what I did today. Tomorrow, what do we have tomorrow? I have no idea. I'm at a complete loss. Oh, okay. Tomorrow. Now, this one, I think this one's funny, and it may take us all of 5 minutes to draw it. This is the Lincoln Memorial as seen on the back of a penny. Because even on the penny, if you zoom in on a penny, you can see Lincoln sitting inside the Lincoln Memorial. As far as I can tell, they failed to put Lincoln in this Lincoln Memorial, which I think is interesting because it's how are you going to have a Lincoln Memorial without Lincoln in it? But anyway, this is what we're doing tomorrow morning at 5:30 a.m. Texas time. So you may want to click your notification bell so you don't miss that. We'll talk about why Lincoln is in the Lincoln Memorial and all of the places you can find him on a penny and an adult and on a $5 bill. What dollar bill is Lincoln on? Is he on the 5? I don't see enough actual paper money to remember those things. So guys, thank you so much for joining me. I do look forward to this every day. It's my favorite time of the day when I get to art with my besties. Had a good time last night, even though we were attacked by gremlins. I had a good time today. Pamela says the lag was a little long today, but I can see myself scratching my ear on camera, so it's not that far back. It looks like it's about 30 seconds. But thank you so much for joining me. I do look forward to this every time I get to be here with my besties. Be sure and tune in tomorrow, same Artistic Biker time, same Artistic Biker channel. And I want to thank Rick and Pamela, and I want to thank Ivy for being here, and I want to thank Tigger Cat for being here. Thank you guys so much for joining me this morning. I really do appreciate it. This gives you a chance to say hello and goodbye to each other. Make sure that the lag is caught up to the stream. Rick says to remember those songs, and I have already forgotten them like a magic carpet ride. So be sure and click the clicky thingies this way if you're on the horizontal, or this way if you're on the vertical. And let's see, the most important thing is that I don't get cut off mid-sentence, because being cut off